Hey everybody, my name is Daniel Klein. I run a marketing company called Joseph Studios, and here to talk a little bit about small business marketing because I've seen it multiple times come up where lots of folks, whether they're just starting out or they have what they would consider an established business, screwing up when it comes to the basics. And I wanted to cover the basics with you here openly and incite some conversation in the comments section so that you don't make some costly mistakes. We have a tremendous privilege here that we are able to be exposed to many different businesses from different sectors and different stages of their life cycle. And we commonly see the same themes repeated. And it helps us fix these issues as soon as possible. It helps us discover these issues before folks join the portfolio so that we can change our proposals to fix the problems before we start addressing growth. And I wanted to cover these topics here today so that you have an idea of the other things that people struggle with in their business life, and that potentially you could if you're not aware of these problems. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'll take 2 minutes. We'll burn through this. It's not going to take 2 minutes, but for the sake of jib jab, it'll take 2 minutes. All right. So this is available on our website. So josephstudios.net/marketing for small businesses. It's a graphic that takes you through the different stages of what we would consider maturity for sales and marketing of a business. So this doesn't discuss product necessarily. This doesn't discuss operational or P&L, financial, tax. None of that stuff is discussed here. This is strictly marketing. This is strictly sales and how the two come together or should come together to result in growth for a business. You can see that as a funnel that's meant to indicate a level of effort. So even if you have a huge company like Coke, I fully expect you to know yourself and focus on branding far more than focusing on hosting events. I would also expect that you handle these sequentially. So understanding your brand, being able to communicate your brand and your customer journey is much more important than hosting events and opportunities for people or sponsorships for team members, that sort of thing, right? So they happen sequentially, and the size of the object here indicates level of effort, and that's not going away whether you scale or not. One quick thing before we get started, customer journey is being able to describe the story of what it's like to be a customer of yours from start to finish, so that the customers, when they come on board, have a reasonable expectation for what to expect, where to be, and what to have with them when they meet you there so that they're successful, right? And product market fit is understanding what your product or service currently does versus what the market is asking for, and clearly understanding the difference between the two, all right? So let's move on. Stage one. First and foremost, this is the most important thing. It's having a strategy in place that ensures your long-term viability and growth. Critical. And a lot of folks miss this step. They don't want to do strategy because it's boring. They don't want to do strategy because it's a lot of work. Well, guess what? So is running the rest of your business for the foreseeable future. It's a lot of work. And if you don't put the legwork up front to understand your place in the world and where you fit into that and how you build a framework for a strong and viable business, you will fail. And if you don't fail, life will be extremely hard for you. Avoid that by having a strategy in place beforehand, right? Secondly, product market fit. Do people want to buy your thing? Is it at the right price point? How much of this thing can you sell hypothetically or theoretically? So those are two things that you need to consider before anything else. Do not assume people want to buy your stuff. Do not assume that there's a need for your stuff, even if other people are selling it. Have no assumptions. Go in, do your research, and have a written down plan, not aspirational, not I've thought about it, a written down plan that you can send to other people that you trust to peer review. If you come to us at Joseph Studios, and I should mention this ahead of time, anything in this funnel we can help you with, and this is the only plug I'm going to do. Anything in this funnel we can help you with. We can do it professionally. It'll be seamless, perfect, and we'll take away all the heartache so that you don't have to do that. That's the whole value statement. So that's the only plug. All right, moving on. Stage two. So let's say you have strategy in place. You have your customer journey in place. You know where your product fits into the market. Beautiful. All right, step two, sales. You need to be selling your product. Marketing is not sales. Sales is not marketing. The two work together very well, but you need to be actively selling your thing, your widget, your doodad, whatever. You need to have a consistent approach to outbound sales activities that includes prospecting, cold calls, cold emails, cold outreach. That's a thing. Do it. Make sure your team is doing it if you have a team. Make sure your sales director and their meeting setters, if you have them, make sure they are actively working. Incentivize them, right? You need to be able to consistently close business, upsell, and retain clients regularly, not a fad. That has to be in place before you do anything else. Don't start a business and immediately start advertising on Google. You're going to waste a ton of money. Don't immediately start a business and start advertising on Facebook. You're going to waste a ton of money. You will not get sales out of it. You need to first start with a plan for sales, whether it's reaching out to your friends and family and trying to pitch them first, having that safe place where you can iterate your sales pitch, grow and adapt it so that it's actually good. Awesome. Or if you're an established business and you need to incentivize your team members so that it's not just commission based, but there's a base, and vice versa. So they're a little bit hungry and they actually want to go out and do some selling. Those are important things to consider. You need to have an active outbound sales arm, whether you're a SaaS company, so software as a service, or you have a lawn maintenance company. You need to have an outbound sales arm. You need to do this. It is important. All right. So let's say you have a strategy in place. You have product market fit down. You know this is a need. You've researched it. You have a written plan. It's been peer reviewed. And then you also have an outbound sales arm, someone to cold call, email, pitch people, secure new business. Beautiful. Let's move on to step 3 then. Step 3 is the content. And a lot of people jump to this immediately, but you shouldn't at all. So step 3, content. What I would propose here is be active on social media, produce SEO optimized content such as blogs, podcasts, vlogs, or email, and consistently do all of those things. Consistency is key here. It always is, it always will be. It's not about doing something well once, it's about doing something well in general, or all the time, right? So producing content for the benefit and enjoyment of you, your potential or future clients and customers, it's important. I'm producing content here. You should be as well, right? Participate. Have an active and open conversation with potential and current clients, employees, and partners. Participation is key. We focus on social media and we call it a house party, and you should treat it exactly like a house party. Show up well dressed, have a drink in your hand, smile on your face, participate in conversations, and work the room. That's what you should be doing on social media. Content, you should be producing content for people to think about and engage with and get them to consider things and help them through the sales process. You should already have a sales process down by now, right? And if you think about the 10 commitments that people go through when they sell or buy something, right? Commitment for time, commitment to consider, discover, etc. Those are the types of things your content should be doing, right? It should be inciting people to give you time, inciting people to consider other options, inciting people to discover how life is painful without you. Those are the types of things that you should be doing. So when you start a business, do not skip forward and start, advertising on Facebook or start producing content on Facebook. Have a strategy in place. Once you have a strategy in place, pitch people, have an open and active sales arm, and then produce content on social media. And then in return, have your salespeople engaging with the content you're producing so they can go to folks and be like, hey, Stan, Bill, Sarah, Megan, I have this great blog article. It's written specifically for you about your niche, your topic. I think it's wonderful. Would love for your peer review of it or your feedback, right? It can be real personal. It can be totally unscripted. That's awesome. But incite that feedback from your blog article. Forward them an email that your company just sent out. Like, hey, we just upped our game with email marketing. What do you guys think? This is so cool. Here's what we're doing. How does this fit into what you could consider valuable? Those are the types of things your sales team could and should be doing to reuse the content that you're providing. It's not just for SEO purposes. It shouldn't just go live and sit there. Your sales team needs to be actively engaging with it. They need to be the first people out on the dance floor, as so to speak, right? All right, so moving along, stage 4. So stage 4, if I can get there, is advertising. So advertising is a booster. It gets you a lot of impressions. It gets you a lot of brand awareness. It doesn't necessarily have to lead directly to a sale. There's a lot of different verticals that it's just exposure. That's all it is. There's a lot of different mechanisms for advertising, like radio. Radio isn't going to lead directly to a sale necessarily, but it provides great brand awareness. So it's important to consider an advertising strategy. before you advertise. Don't go jumping onto Facebook and striking up a campaign. There needs to be some thought put into this before you waste a ton of money. Also consider that it is going to be a giant waste of money to start. You need to iterate, you need to experiment, you need to run small campaigns to get a feel for how the big campaign will do prior to dumping in $1,000 a month or $1,000 a day. It's important. So experiment, iterate, which means go through a process a couple times and improve on the things that were effective through each iteration, and then do these things consistently, right? So if you're running sub campaigns in a small niche market before you run your big one, do it consistently. It should boost your brand awareness. It should be on the platforms where your customers and clients are present. And all of these things need to be put into consideration. It's not just throw money at advertising. That's not going to work. You need a strategy before anything happens. Just like anything. I hope I'm preaching to the choir. I'm concerned because we see things every day where it would lead a logical person to conclude that I'm not preaching to the choir. So it's better to know these things ahead of time before you waste a ton of cash. And it's better to know these things ahead of time before you ask someone for help so that you can ask really intelligent questions of them prior to engaging them. All right. Last, certainly not least, sponsor and host events, people, and experiences to solidify your brand in people's minds. This does a couple things. Providing experiences for others to enjoy, events, hosting galas, sporting events, athletes, all of those are real things. They do boost awareness. They are phenomenal tools to boost influence and what they call brand preference. If the influencer marketing would fit into this pretty nicely, and I would encourage your influencers to actually give a damn about your product or service, not just be paid to give a damn about your product or service. If you go out and you hire an influencer and they don't believe in what you do, they're not really a part of your universe, then you need to second guess your strategy with engaging with them. So I say all that to say this. Let's go back to the overview and we'll summarize things here. Right? We see a lot of time people skipping steps. We see not having strategy as a common theme. We see a lot of answers from clients like, oh, we did a SWOT analysis last year. Oh, we do one every year. And then we reply, can you send us that? And they don't, because they don't have it. We see a lot where people jump the gun and they assume that their idea is good and they want to go out and do something unique that's never been tested or that would be a differentiator for their company, but then they don't have a strategy in place to actually understand that that's true. They just have a hunch. We see a lot of people skipping over sales because it's tough. Sales is tough. Getting hung up on 100 times, it's tough. And it's not fun. It's not fun at all. But it's essential. It is absolutely essential. If you don't ask for business, you're not going to get business. We see a lot of content creation attempts. If you go out on Facebook, you need to commit to Facebook. You need to commit to producing content regularly. Again, consistency. And then when it comes to participating in conversations, we very rarely see this. And we see a lot of people skipping over participation and going right to advertising. So they might throw out some salesy material on Facebook. They might throw out some salesy material in an ad and call it a day. Unsat, completely unsat. You need to participate in conversations. You need to have a strategy in place. You need to advertise effectively and consistently. You need to have a budget for all this so that you don't burn too hot or too bright too quick. So that would be kind of the lesson learned. I'm coming at this with a little bit of passion. I'm not necessarily yelling, but I'm definitely passionate about these things because I see a lot of people struggling immensely and putting their futures at stake because they haven't considered this kind of mindset. And I want as many people to be exposed to this idea, one, to peer review it, and I want your comments in the comment section so that there's a common understanding of, is this valuable? Is this a real thing? I feel it is, but also because I see enough people struggling that I want to help as many people as possible. And so I thought, let's do a video, let's put it on YouTube, let's see if it's going to be watched a bunch, but hopefully it will be. And hopefully a lot of people will latch onto this and be like, hey, this saved me. Or, hey, I didn't spend 20 grand on a website before I had a strategy in place. Thank you very much for not enabling me to burn through 20 grand on a website. So that's essentially it. Not too much else going on. But I do want to say thank you very much for watching this video, and I do want your comments and feedback. So please let us know that. Yeah, I wish you the best in your entrepreneurial journey. Again, we can help you with literally anything on that chart. If you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer them for free. Just ping me and I will reach out and we will hook you up. But there is no need to suffer in silence. Absolutely no reason to suffer in silence. I've been doing the entrepreneurial thing for about 5 years now. And Joseph Studios, at the time of this recording, is about 3.5 years old. And I can tell you, I have burned through cash like no one's freaking business, because no one taught me this. I had to learn this the hard way. And now that I've learned it the hard way, there's no reason to have other people suffer through it. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than willing to help you. But until then, I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope you're extremely successful. And I hope you win this day, this week, and you absolutely crush it. Thank you very much.